y'all. Welcome back to the Who's Right podcast. And what do you know coming out of the break? Is it a hot streak? Are we seeing Lindor break out? Was today the day that Lindor breaks out? I don't know. But, before we get started, before we start talking about it, subscribe to the channel, like this video. Let me know how you're feeling. I know the also the article came out a couple days ago that we're going to get into in a little bit. But how do you feel about coming out of the break? How are you feeling about winning that series against the Phillies? Is this the start of something? Am I being delusional? I'm always going to be rooting for my team. So let me know how you're thinking and how you're feeling. But yeah, let's get into it. Let's review this series. There's only one series to review because it's first game out of the break, first series out of the break. So on Friday, we come out and Friday. I forgot. It's the ESPN, ESPN standalone game. They wanted to showcase the Mets, but they wanted their own game on Thursday, and so we had a game. Thursday was a crazy smoke game, and where everybody was talking about it smelled like a campfire and stuff like that. Yeah, I can't imagine. I know down here in Virginia, we got a little bit of it. We smelled it as well, so it was a little crazy, but they got that game in. Scott looked great, and I mean, is even if nothing happens this year, our rotation, our young arms for next year are starting to emerge, and our rotation is starting to take shape. Obviously, the we still got the likes of Mania, who um, took the ball yesterday, and looked like Mania. On a here it is. On a day that Mania pitches, um, we got to be able to put runs on against the other team. That's the only way that we have to look at it. We can't expect Mania to be this ace-like figure. He's not. He hasn't been since 2024. And so, whenever Mania, at the end of the day, he's fine is if he's the fifth starter. You know, you're gonna have your decent games, and then you're gonna have your clunkers. And so, and that's what Saturday. Saturday was kind of a clunker. It wasn't something that you can really hang your hat on. But at the end of the day, if he's your fifth starter, I'm not too worried about it. Right? I'm not too worried about it. So, but with that said, he has to be a guy that we put runs for. We give him a lot of runs. We can't expect him to hold this a good lineup down to one or two runs. That's just not. That's expecting too much out of Mania at this point. You know, so we lose that game. But we take the game today. McLean looked amazing. Six strong innings. Um, six shutout innings. So let's give him even more credit, right? Six shutout innings, and he looked awesome. Obviously he's been pitching well last what was it? 8 starts before this. So with today's start, 9th start, and so this is the McLean that we were all expecting at the beginning of the year, and I think it was I forget who said it in the broadcast, but at total, this is his 28th start in the major leagues. So he had some growing pains in the beginning of the season. That's why you got a guy like Peralta. It is to allow McLean to get growing pains. That's the whole reason why you got a Peralta. Unfortunately, Peralta didn't pan out in the beginning of the season like we would have hoped. But you can see and now see why McLean is going to be our future ace. The way he carved that lineup, right? Um, and you got the solid number two in Scott, to be honest with you, because he looked great. We just need him. I know they're being delicate, especially in a season where it's a lost season and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I think he can develop into your solid number two, and you got an awesome one-two punch there with McLean and Scott. Because I don't believe they're getting Scooble now or in free agency. I don't think they're going to get him. But I digress. We're not talking about that right now. So McLean's strong innings, and then to top it all off, you get Lindor to give us his best, his basically his best game of the season, right? He got how many? Let me double check here. He was 3 for 3 with two walks, home run, three RBIs. And is this the breakout? Is he finally starting to click? So because we all got to understand with Lindor, he's a slow starter. Um, he's done it every year. He's a slow starter, and this year was even compounded even more of a slow starter because of the injury. So this is about the time of the year where maybe a little bit before, maybe June, let's say, he usually starts to get going in a season where he doesn't get hurt. So I'm this is hopefully the breakout and the streak that Soto needs to be behind him in the order, protecting him, and with Bo starting to look like himself. The last month or so, a little bit over a month, he's starting to look like himself. It's the lineup that we all envisioned, right? Top of the lineup. Obviously we need Polanco to get going now, but Lindor, Bichette, and Soto. If we get this version of Lindor, is the Lindor that we were all expecting, and the lineup that we were all expecting. So and sometimes things don't break your way in a baseball season. That's just what happens. And so, what's next, right? We get the article of certain guys being off the trade market for the Mets, right? You got Ewing, you got Benj, you got Soto, you got McLean, and you got Scott. Those are the five untouchable. I'll call them the five Met untouchables of 2026. And as we've all been talking about for the last, what, 3, 4 days, however long it's been, why wasn't Lindor on that list? And it's interesting, right? Why was Lindor kept off that list? Is it a rival executive trying to stir the pot? It's possible. Is it Lindor not wanting to be here? I guess it's possible. Is it um, Lindor wearing out his welcome here? He doesn't want to be here. It's possible, right? All these things are possible, right? We're not in the clubhouse. We don't know what's going on in there, and he or is it the fourth option that he actually is untouchable? Which one is it? We got four options there, and one of them could be that he's also untouchable. He's also one that's not going anywhere, but is one that either the rival executive wanted to stir the pot, create some more chaos. Because if you're the Mets, why not create more chaos? Everybody likes trolling on the Mets, right? Everybody. I haven't seen one person not want to troll on the Mets. Not one. So that's just the industry standard, that everybody wants to troll the Mets, and it's easy, right? We got half the fan base going at each other on who's going, who's not going, and so it's easy to troll the fan base, um, because I I think it's so easy to troll the fan base, um, for one reason only. This fan base lives and dies Mets. We're so passionate for this team, that it's easy to get on our nerves because we want this team to be successful. It's easy to poke us a little bit and us really get upset about it, because we're so passionate about this team. You got fan bases in other teams, and you got the love for the other teams, but I've not seen the passion like the Mets fan. Haven't. That's why it's so easy to get under our skin. That's my opinion. That's what I believe, is why it's so easy to get under our skin. But back to Lindor. So this is my opinion. You can agree with it, you can disagree with it. You let me know what you think. But this is my opinion on Lindor. He's one of the top shortstops in the game. One. He's got a large contract. Two. And he may be in the top 15, one of the top 15 players in the game. That's arguable, and that can be arbitrary a little bit, but he's up there. Um, so if you're the Mets, why would you want to trade this guy? Because supposedly he can't get along with his teammate. Well, I've said it before. In baseball, teammates don't need to get along. They don't. Um, I've talked about some of the players on the '86 Mets, but let's take it more recent to some of you who are younger, to maybe relate to a little bit. And A Rod and Jeter didn't get along. For you Yankee fans out there that are trolling Met fans to trade Lindor to the Yankees. That's hilarious. But Jeter and A Rod did not get along, and you had a team that won, with those guys on the team. So this is different from a lot of sports. You do not need to be buddy buddy with your teammate. Um, Here's the thing. Maybe there has to be a little bit of chemistry with your pitcher and the catcher. Yeah, maybe there has to be a little bit more chemistry because you're going through the game together, all game, several games throughout the year, right? 30 starts or so for pitchers, right? Um, but as position players, and here's the thing: not only are they position players that don't need to get along. Who cares if they get along or not? They also play one's an infielder, one's an outfielder. So even on the field, they're not even um, needing that quote unquote chemistry that everybody is pining for. This is baseball. Come on, this is baseball. This is a sport that doesn't need you to care and live and breathe and die with your teammate. Um, so if they have some beef or whatever, who cares? That's really not what's affecting this team. You know what most people don't want to understand is Lindor and Soto haven't played together, but maybe 30 games this year. I'd have to go back and check, but it might not even be that yet. Um, first Soto was hurt, then Lindor got hurt, so they haven't played together. Bichette got off to a horrible start. It almost reminded me of the Bichette season that forget what season it was. It was either 23 or 24 where he was unplayable. And that's the season that he was having in the beginning of the season where he was unplayable. And but obviously we're gonna the Mets are gonna play him because you paid him all that money. But you got to understand that your top three guys either were injured or not performing. I'm not going to include Polanco and Robert. Obviously, Polanco, I expected a little bit more. I didn't expect him. I know that he's an injury-prone player, so you don't have to tell me. I know that he's an injury-prone player, but I didn't expect him to not play off the gate. I'm sorry. I don't think any of us expected that. And so that but even with those two guys out, you didn't have Soto and you didn't have Lindor for a period of time, and you had Bichette not playing well. And and then our pitching, then Peralta is having the worst season of his career um, in a walk year. Is it for Peralta because it's the walk year? Put a lot of pressure on himself. Some people said that he's hurt. Some people um, said he's not hanging here in New York. Whatever it is, I don't know what it is. So I'm not going to sit here and try to get in the head of Peralta. But he's having his worst year. Is it being on a team that his family roots for? Rooted for as a kid. Who knows? It could be any of those things. It could be the contract. It could be, would he have pitched differently if he was given an extension? Who knows? Um, Clay Holmes going down. Senga forgetting how to pitch. You know, we got teased his rookie season, and ever since the injury that Alonso created with Senga, he's never been the same since then. And I don't know what's going on with Senga. And the only one that maybe we could have seen coming is Manayo, because he's been this up and down guy all his whole career, and we expected too much out of Manayo. And Peterson, I personally expected too much out of Peterson. I thought he was going to return to the first half Peterson, and he didn't. He stayed second half Peterson all year, and I don't know. I honestly don't know what happened to Peterson because I thought the first half Peterson of last year, we thought it was the innings that got to Peterson, but Obviously, it wasn't. It was another mirage that we got last year from Peterson. So those guys that were in our rotation and are in our in the Mets rotation had to pitch in the beginning of the season. There is no way around it. They had to pitch. Um, I know people wanna hold Stearns accountable, and he will be held accountable if this team doesn't play well next year. He's not going anywhere this year, so I'm not even going to say go anywhere this year. But if they don't play well next year, he's definitely not sticking around. But I'd love to also say that nobody expected this team. This team was a playoff contending team on paper, and it just didn't happen. And it has nothing to do with run prevention. I know everybody wants to throw the mess with that. You know, had nothing to do with that. Bo's been fine at third when he's been there, and not playing short because Lindor's out. Obviously, Vientos is unplayable, but that's not the guy that was supposed to be playing first. So I love the people wanna kill Stern's first base option and forget that Vientos wasn't supposed to be playing first. Maybe once in a while, but mostly DH because he can't play. He's a DH only player. And again, like I said before, I feel bad that he got hurt, um, but that's the truth of the matter. But back to Lindor, why would you want to trade him? Please, I want somebody to tell me in the comments why would you want to trade him? And guys, I'm not the biggest Lindor fan. I'm not the biggest fan of Lindor, but he is still one of the top players in the game. So why would you trade him? This is not the same as not signing Alonso, um, because Alonso's not the caliber of player that Lindor is, not even close. And this is not about trading Nimmo. See, as Mets fans, we get caught up in this in the sentiment of, well, he's a homegrown Met. The problem with Nimmo is that he was given a contract for a player that is replaceable. We've already replaced Nimmo, guys, with Bench and Ewing. That was that's really, if we want to get to the nuts and bolts of why Nimmo was traded, Bench and Ewing are your answer. That's why Nimmo was traded. Has nothing to do with getting Simeon here. Simeon was just the only way to get out of the Nimmo contract. And some people are going to say, well, you could have had Nimmo play first base or DH or what have you. And all be true, except for the first base one, right? I don't think he wants to play first base. Texas is a team that also needs a first baseman. He could be playing first base for them because he's playing right field, guys. Or last time I checked, he was playing right field. And so, because you got Langford on the other side. And so he was not, I think he still wants to play the outfield. I think he still thinks he's an outfielder. And so he was not going to play first base for the Mets. And here's the problem. And this is the other side of the coin with a guy that's been with the organization as long as Nimmo has, and given that contract that he was given, he has a little bit more say here. He can pout a little bit stronger here with the Mets and get fan support on his side because he was a long term Met. And and guys, Ewing and Benj are the reason Nimmo's not here. It's not about getting Simeon back, even though before his injury, and hopefully after his injury, he can at least play um, good defense and be somewhat of a serviceable player. But it wasn't about Simeon. It was about getting out of the Lindor contract. So so you can't compare uh, Lindor to Nimmo. You can't compare him to Alonso. He's a much better player than Alonso. He's a much better player than Lindor. And obviously, nobody's talking about McNeil. He talked about him for about 3 weeks in April when the Mets were in that losing streak, but nobody's talking about McNeil anymore. But Lindor is one of the top players in the league. You can't replace that. It's impossible to replace. You would have to trade him, kind of similar to the Mason Miller DeVries deal. It almost has to be a can't miss prospect. And at that point, I think only San Diego is, with Preller as their GM, only San Diego is willing to do trades like that because everybody knew that Mason was being traded, um, but nobody was willing to give up what San Diego gave up for him. But San Diego's known to make those kind of deals. But that's the only team out there that's probably willing to give you what actually Lindor is worth. And right now, with all the bad contracts they have in their books, they're not going to take on another big contract. We would have to take on one of their big contracts in return. And I don't think it's worth it. So I don't see that happen. I mean, could you trade Lindor for a Tatis? Have Tatis come back to the infield? I may be open to that. But that's the caliber of player that Lindor is being traded for. That's it. That's the only player that Lindor is being traded for, or that caliber of player. Um, so guys, I'm not a big Lindor fan, but I also don't want him off this team. Not at all. You've got to blow me away with what you're getting back. And what I mean blow me away is um, getting the caliber of player like a Tatis or you know I'll throw this now who Jesus Made out there, that kind of player um, on the way back. That's the only way you trade him. And then to throw it all a little bit further, this is Alex Cohen's dad's favorite player. He ain't going anywhere. Guys, he's not going anywhere. So that's all I want to say about Lindor. I'm going to preview the next series and or the next couple series in just a second. But that's all I'm gonna say on Lindor. You tell me how you feel. Do you kind of agree with what I'm saying, or do you have other opinions on what may happen, what would you give up? What would you get back for Lindor if you would trade him? I wouldn't trade him, but if you would, let me know what you think. This week we got Milwaukee and the Dodgers. On the road in Milwaukee, and Dodgers coming into Citi Field. And guys, we're in it, right? In order to do another miracle run in the second half, these are the teams you got to beat. So, I'm not saying that we still got a shot. Not saying that at all. But I'm saying if you want to somewhat make this interesting, um, the only way to do it is against these teams. Um, you know, and if Lindor and Soto and Bichette are playing well, along with Bench and Ewing, with those five guys playing well and getting your, Beatty's hot and Alvarez is capable of winning a game for you with his power. Let's go. Let's make it interesting. Let's play spoiler until we're back in it. And so, oh, another guy before I get into previewing next week's series is Alvarez. Now that I brought him up, guys, Alvarez frustrates me to no end. But unless you're getting blown away, I don't see Alvarez going anywhere. Just don't see it. Because if you look at the catcher position throughout the league, there are not many good catchers. Um, so you don't want to just trade away a catcher, a 24-year-old catcher. It'd be different if he was 28. It'd be different. Maybe at 28, he's a little bit more control of his emotions and doesn't swing for the fences for on everything. So we'll see what happens. But I wouldn't trade Alvarez at this point. As much as he frustrates me, I wouldn't trade him. All right, on to Milwaukee and the Dodgers. So this week we get Mizrowski tomorrow or Monday against Peralta. What are we going to see from Peralta? Because we know what we're going to see from Mizrowski. So it's not going to be easy. And then Tuesday we get the revenge game. Is it a revenge game? I don't know. But we get to see our old buddy Sprout. Um, so so interesting games coming up against Milwaukee. Look, just make it interesting, make it entertaining. Just want to see some good baseball. Uh, Hopefully, take 2 out of 3 and inch our way back into this race. And to make it interesting, I don't know if we can make the playoffs or not, but if we could inch our way back into an interesting position, place Boyer a lot, I would love to see it. But we'll see. And then we got the Dodgers this weekend. You know, I know we got Mania, Scott and McLean again this weekend, or not Scott. Yeah, Scott going this weekend, and so against the Dodgers, again, make it interesting. Take 2 out of 3, and just let's play good ball. Because at the end of the day, that's what you want to see is good ball. I would assume that Luis Robert will be activated, if not tomorrow, on Friday. I would assume. Are they? The interesting thing is how are they going to do the playing time? Because you want to showcase Robert. He's got 10 million basically left on his contract. You pay that down a little bit and have a team take that off your hands. Um, if he plays well enough, there's a bunch of teams that need outfield help, and so let's see what happens. Let's see if they how they do the playing time. Ewing's been playing second base to probably for this situation is for to give Robert some playing time at center once he gets back. Because we're close to the end here, guys. It's about what is it? Um, 2 weeks, a little bit over 2 weeks from the trade deadline. Um, so it's coming here fast. It's coming here um, quickly. It'll be here before you know it. But those are the guys. Everybody else is tradable. I still don't, unless I still don't see them trading Beatty. I don't see that happening unless they get blown away, because Beatty's a guy that is serviceable. One of the things that Evan Roberts said on the Rico Bronya is so right about Beatty, and this is what he said: we get so focused on the draft pick, right? This would happen with the Giants with Evan Neal. We're so focused that he was a first round pick, being a tackle, that we couldn't fathom keeping him on the team as a sub backup guard. Same thing is happening with Beatty. Beatty's not a starting caliber player that you rely on, but he's a guy that can play different positions and can get hot every once in a while. To me, that's a guy great off your bench. And that's how you got to start looking at Beatty. Um, Not a guy, a first round pick, not a top prospect. Those days are gone. You got to start shifting your thinking a little bit. You got to shift your thinking a little bit on Beatty. So out of those three guys, the only guy that I want to see gone, and he can't go anywhere at this point, is Vientos. That's the only guy I want to see gone. That's the only guy I've wanted to see gone for a year and a half now. That's it. As frustrating, and I might get a little over my skis a little bit with Alvarez, but that's more frustration than anything else. I don't want to see him gone because of the state of catching in the majors. And Beatty, he's an awesome utility player. That's what he is. You just got to refocus, re um, shift your perspective on who Beatty is. He's a bench utility player. That's who he is. That's it. Okay. There's nothing else to speak about those guys. So, guys, I think we're gonna end it there. Been talking a lot of Lindor and the potential trades, guys. The only thing I didn't mention is Clay Holmes. Obviously, we need to resign him. Extension talks have started, and just resign him. If you go into next season with McLean, Scott, and Holmes as your top three, um, and then you fill in the rest with Mania, Thornton, maybe, and so be it. That's your starting rotation, and you're getting McGill back next year and stuff like that, and so you're getting a little bit of depth back from injury. So you know, sign Clay Holmes and it's a good start, good starting foundation for our rotation next year. But guys, until next week, let's get some see some good baseball. And before I get out of here, subscribe to the channel, like this video. Let me know how you're feeling on replay. Let me know how what you're thinking. Is any of what I said make sense, or you just want to see Lindor gone? Um, just let me know. Talk to me. But until then, guys, let's go Mets.